Welcome to Ancient Mysteries. I'm your host, Ben Carter, and in today's episode, we journey to the most remote and inhospitable place on Earth, Antarctica. Beneath its endless sheets of ice, some believe lie the ruins of a forgotten world. Could an ancient civilization, older than any we've known, be entombed beneath the frozen wasteland? And if so, who were they, and what secrets did they leave behind? Long before Antarctica became the desolate, ice-covered continent we know today, it may have looked very different. Geological records suggest that millions of years ago, this now frozen landmass was lush and green, teeming with life and possibly even forests. But in the context of human history, the timeline is less clear and far more controversial. Some researchers propose that a habitable Antarctica might have existed during the last ice age, roughly 12,000 years ago, before a cataclysmic shift plunged the continent into eternal winter. This time frame coincides uncannily with the end of what many ancient traditions describe as a golden age, a period marked by mysterious floods, mass extinctions, and the sudden disappearance of advanced cultures around the world. The theory that Antarctica may have once supported human civilization has long been considered fringe, but new discoveries have prompted a fresh look. Ancient maps, such as the controversial Piri Reis map from the 16th century, appear to depict the coastline of Antarctica free of ice, centuries before it was officially discovered and long before modern sonar mapping could confirm such geography. If accurate, this map could imply either that Antarctica was known in antiquity or that the knowledge was passed down from an unknown civilization with advanced geographic awareness. Supporting this radical idea are the oral histories and mythologies of cultures scattered across the globe. Many of these speak of a sunken or hidden land to the south, a place of great wisdom, destroyed in an age of upheaval. The Greeks spoke of Hyperborea, a land of perpetual light beyond the north, but some reinterpret this as symbolic of an advanced civilization beyond the known southern lands. Similar stories exist in ancient Indian, Mayan, and Polynesian texts. They point to a memory, however fragmented, of a forgotten age and its lost centers of knowledge. In terms of climate science, it's now widely accepted that the Earth's poles have shifted throughout history, changing global climates in profound ways. The theory of crustal displacement, once popularized by Charles Hapgood, suggests that entire continents may have shifted positions rapidly, not over millennia, but within a human lifetime. If such a pole shift occurred near the end of the last ice age, as some hypothesize, it could have plunged a once temperate Antarctica into a sudden deep freeze, entombing everything in ice. Beyond myth and geological conjecture lies the mystery of time itself. Modern carbon dating and ice core sampling indicate that Antarctica's glacial layers stretch back hundreds of thousands of years. But these layers also show signs of sudden temperature changes, consistent with the theory of abrupt, possibly global catastrophes. Massive volcanic activity, asteroid strikes, or solar events could have drastically altered Earth's climate, burying entire regions under ice or ocean in mere decades. If a civilization had thrived in Antarctica during a warmer window, perhaps even one with seafaring capability, it could have disappeared almost overnight, its ruins hidden under miles of ice. While mainstream archaeology maintains that the continent has been uninhabitable for human life throughout known history, this assumption is based largely on the absence of evidence, not evidence of absence. The difficulty of accessing Antarctica's buried terrain means that much of it remains unexplored. Satellite imagery has revealed curious anomalies, geometric shapes, dome-like structures, and rectilinear patterns beneath the ice that continue to puzzle researchers. Whether these are natural formations or remnants of something artificial remains unknown, but the questions persist. Was there a civilization in prehistory that mastered navigation, architecture, and science far beyond what we've credited them for? Did they record their knowledge, encode it into myth, or vanish without a trace, buried beneath a continent we still know so little about? The clues are scattered across disciplines: geology, mythology, climatology, and together they paint a picture far more complex than previously imagined. The mystery begins in earnest with the appearance of unexplainable cartographic anomalies, maps that seem to depict Antarctica long before its official discovery. Chief among them is the Peary Race map, created in 1513 by an Ottoman admiral using older source material. This map, preserved on a fragment of gazelle skin parchment, shows a remarkably accurate outline of South America's eastern coast. But what's more astonishing is the landmass positioned far to the south, curiously resembling the ice-free coastline of Antarctica's Queen Maud Land. What makes this so perplexing is not only that Antarctica wasn't officially discovered until 1820, but that its subglacial topography, the land beneath the ice, was only confirmed through seismic surveys conducted in the 20th century. Yet the Peary Race map appears to reflect that very geography, suggesting a level of knowledge that should not have existed in the 1500s. This has led some to believe the map is based on even older sources, possibly from an advanced seafaring culture capable of global exploration during a time when Antarctica may have been at least partially ice-free. This idea gained traction with Charles Hapgood, a history professor who in the 1950s published the theory of Earth crustal displacement. Hapgood proposed that the entire outer shell of the Earth could shift as a single unit, moving continents rapidly across latitudes. He believed that such a shift occurred around 10,000 BCE, displacing a temperate Antarctica to its current frigid location. Intriguingly, Hapgood's work received public endorsement from none other than Albert Einstein, who contributed a preface to one of his books and expressed interest in the possibility of sudden pole shifts. If such a shift did occur, it could explain how a civilization might have once thrived in Antarctica during a warm epoch and then been catastrophically buried under miles of ice in a single event. This timeline curiously overlaps with the Younger Dryas period, a sudden global cooling event around 10,800 BCE, possibly triggered by a comet impact or massive solar outburst. Many ancient flood myths, including the story of Atlantis, are believed to reference this tumultuous era. Could Antarctica be the final resting place of this lost civilization, now buried beneath the ice, forgotten by history? Modern technology has only deepened the mystery. Satellite imagery from NASA and other agencies has identified several anomalies beneath Antarctica's ice sheet. One such feature, located in East Antarctica, is a massive oval-shaped structure nearly 250 kilometers wide. Though officially categorized as a subglacial mountain or impact crater, its symmetrical shape and isolation have sparked speculation. Another curiosity is the so-called Wilkes land gravity anomaly, detected through gravitational measurements and believed to be caused by a massive mass, possibly metallic or artificial, deep below the surface. Then there are the whispered rumours, stories circulating among military personnel and researchers stationed in Antarctica. Unconfirmed reports tell of restricted areas, sudden closures of research zones, and unexplained discoveries during drilling operations. In 2001, a Russian expedition to Lake Vostok, a massive subglacial freshwater lake sealed off from the surface for millions of years, was reportedly halted under mysterious circumstances. When drilling resumed years later, data about what was found remained limited. Some believe that remnants of ancient structures, possibly even organic material, were discovered, though no official confirmation has ever emerged. Even more compelling are the ancient myths that speak of a southern land lost to time. The Mahabharata references a place of crystal cities and radiant gods in the southern oceans. Aboriginal legends in Australia speak of a great white land, from which ancestors arrived. In pre-Columbian South America, tales exist of a continent across the sea where powerful sages lived before being swallowed by the cold. While modern science often views these as metaphor or allegory, some researchers argue they may represent fragmented memories of a civilization now buried beyond recovery. The confluence of these maps, myths, and anomalies keeps the mystery of Antarctica alive. While mainstream scholars urge caution, the sheer volume of unexplained evidence continues to challenge the idea that Antarctica has always been a barren wilderness. Something, perhaps many things, doesn't quite fit the accepted narrative. As more attention turned to the icy continent, physical evidence, though rare and often hotly contested, began surfacing in ways that reignited debate. Satellite imagery became a key tool in examining Antarctica's enigmatic terrain. Though the continent remains largely inaccessible, advancements in remote sensing and ice-penetrating radar have begun peeling back the layers of glacial concealment. What these technologies have revealed beneath the ice is a land marked by complexity: vast mountain ranges, massive freshwater lakes, and unusual geometric patterns embedded in the terrain. In East Antarctica, scientists identified what appeared to be massive grid-like formations under the ice near Princess Elizabeth Land. While some interpret these as natural geological formations, others argue the straight lines and right angles suggest artificial origin, perhaps foundations of ancient structures long buried by time and frost. Researchers have also observed rectangular anomalies stretching for hundreds of meters, buried beneath the ice shelf in patterns inconsistent with random natural processes. The uniformity and alignment of these shapes fuel speculation about potential ruins or sunken architecture of some lost culture. One of the most compelling locations is the Gamburtsev mountain range, a vast and entirely subglacial mountain system the size of the European Alps. Discovered in the 1950s and later mapped in detail by radar, these mountains remain completely hidden beneath over 2 miles of ice. What's particularly strange is their well-preserved peaks and youthful geological profile, suggesting they were not formed during the continent's ancient glacial phase, but rather in a more recent, dynamic epoch. Could these mountains have once formed the highlands of a thriving civilization before the onset of the Ice Age? Then there's Lake Vostok, one of the largest subglacial lakes on Earth, buried beneath nearly 4 kilometers of ice and isolated for at least 15 million years. Russian scientists began drilling into the lake in the late 1990s, hoping to uncover unique microbial life or ancient atmospheric data preserved in its waters. But rumors soon swirled around what was actually discovered. Reports of sudden halts in drilling operations, communication blackouts, and strange magnetic readings near the lake sparked theories that something unexpected had been encountered. Some suggested the discovery of an ancient city or a massive artificial structure sealed within the frozen vault of the lake's boundaries. To date, no conclusive evidence has been released, fueling further speculation. In West Antarctica, near the Ellsworth Mountains, photographs have circulated online depicting what appears to be a massive dome-shaped formation poking through the snow. The object's symmetry and smooth curvature gave rise to claims that it might be the top of an artificial structure, possibly a buried complex, bunker, or observatory. Critics quickly pointed to natural explanations, including exposed nunataks and glacial formations. Yet the debate persists, fueled by the lack of transparency surrounding many expeditions to the interior of the continent. Perhaps most curiously, seismic anomalies have also been detected deep within the ice, including unexplained hotspots that appear inconsistent with natural geothermal activity. Some researchers propose these may indicate underground caverns or chambers, possibly maintained at higher temperatures through unknown means. Others suggest ancient geothermal activity could have provided pockets of habitability long after the surface became inhospitable, an environment where life, or remnants of civilization, might have endured for centuries. Another curious artifact emerged from a 2002 ice core drilling mission conducted by an international team. At a depth of nearly 2 miles, researchers reportedly retrieved a fragment of an object with metallic characteristics and a lattice-like structure embedded in glacial layers dated to over 100,000 years ago. Though quietly removed from public records, leaked photos and insider accounts claim it resembled a piece of engineered material, far too advanced for the time period. Official responses dismissed the story as fabrication, but independent investigators have struggled to obtain any documentation or confirmation of the object's chain of custody. Despite the Antarctic Treaty restricting military presence and resource exploitation, several nations continue to maintain extensive and well-funded research stations on the continent. The true scope of what has been discovered beneath the ice may be known only to a select few. Whatever lies buried in this vast, frozen crypt, it remains one of the last places on Earth where ancient secrets may still be preserved in silence. Mainstream scholars have approached the question of prehistoric civilization in Antarctica with significant skepticism. According to the prevailing scientific consensus, the continent has been covered in ice for at least 34 million years, making it inhospitable to complex life, let alone human settlement. The idea that any advanced culture could have thrived there is considered by most to be outside the realm of possibility. Geologists argue that even during the warmest interglacial periods, the conditions on the continent would have remained far too extreme to support any form of agriculture or sustained habitation. From this perspective, any claims of ancient ruins or lost civilizations beneath the ice are dismissed as either misinterpretations of natural formations or outright fabrications. Climatologists support this view by pointing to ice core samples taken from deep within the Antarctic ice sheet. These samples allow scientists to reconstruct climate data stretching back hundreds of thousands of years. The evidence, they argue, consistently shows that Antarctica has been locked in deep freeze for the entirety of human history. Even the most liberal interpretations of warming periods suggest only marginal improvements in surface temperatures, not nearly enough to melt the massive ice sheets or expose habitable land. In short, from a climatological standpoint, the notion of a habitable ice-free Antarctica in the last 12,000 years is considered implausible. Archaeologists echo this sentiment. No verifiable artifacts, bones, tools, or structures, hallmarks of ancient civilizations, have ever been found in Antarctica. While anomalies may appear in satellite images, they argue these are well within the range of natural geological processes. Rock outcrops known as nunataks, crevasse patterns, and glacial flows can all produce shapes that resemble man-made structures from a distance. Without physical excavation or in situ analysis, the claims of artificial origin remain unsubstantiated. Scholars emphasize that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and in the case of Antarctica, such evidence has yet to be presented. Regarding the Piri Reis map and similar cartographic anomalies, historians offer alternative explanations. They propose that these maps may have been based on coastal extrapolations or ancient navigational myths, rather than accurate surveys. The perceived resemblance to the Antarctic coastline could be coincidence, artistic interpretation, or the result of retroactive assumptions imposed by modern viewers. Furthermore, critics point out that early maps often incorporated mythical elements, like sea monsters or invented lands, blurring the line between observation and imagination. The theory of crustal displacement, as proposed by Charles Hapgood, has also faced significant criticism from the geoscientific community. Plate tectonics, a widely accepted and well-supported model, explains continental movement through the slow drift of massive lithospheric plates over millions of years. The idea that the Earth's crust could shift suddenly as a whole, moving Antarctica from a temperate to a polar zone within a human time frame, is seen as geophysically untenable. No mechanism currently accepted by modern geology could account for such rapid movement without leaving behind catastrophic global evidence, none of which has been observed. Skeptics also take aim at the more speculative reports from Antarctica, claims of magnetic anomalies, sudden research halts, or classified discoveries. They argue these stories often stem from unreliable sources, lack peer-reviewed backing, or are fueled by sensationalism and internet echo chambers. In many cases, natural explanations or logistical complications, such as harsh weather or equipment failure, are more likely culprits than hidden ruins or ancient technologies. Scientists working in Antarctica emphasize the extreme difficulty of conducting research in such an environment and caution against drawing conclusions from incomplete data or second-hand accounts. Despite these criticisms, the mystery persists in public imagination. Scholars recognize that while there's no evidence to support ancient civilizations in Antarctica, there also hasn't been comprehensive exploration capable of fully ruling it out. The continent's sheer size and inaccessibility mean that much of it remains unmapped and unexplored. Though mainstream experts continue to favor conservative interpretations grounded in current models of Earth history, the questions raised by anomalous findings and persistent legends keep the possibility, however remote, open to speculation. Still, for every scientific dismissal, there are lingering questions that resist simple answers. Even within the scientific community, some anomalies remain unresolved, leading a small but growing number of researchers to suggest that the mainstream narrative may be incomplete, or at the very least, premature. The key issue lies not necessarily in what has been found, but in what has yet to be explained. Antarctica remains one of the least understood continents on Earth. Over 98% of it is covered in ice, some layers more than 2 miles thick, making conventional archaeological methods nearly impossible. The assumption that no civilization existed there is based not on exhaustive exploration, but rather on limited access and indirect data. One of the most striking contradictions lies in the satellite imagery and thermal scans that reveal consistent geometric formations beneath the ice, lines and angles that are rarely seen in nature at such scale and regularity. While these could be the product of glacial stress patterns or subsurface rock formations, their layout, often aligned with cardinal directions or exhibiting uniformity over vast distances, raises uncomfortable questions. For example, a linear formation identified near the Shackleton Range extends over 100 kilometers with minimal deviation, forming what appears to be a perfect arc when plotted geospatially. Critics argue this could not occur without intelligent planning, yet no official expedition has investigated it on the ground. There is also the issue of restricted access. Certain sectors of Antarctica, particularly near the South Pole and in regions adjacent to supposed anomalies, are inexplicably off-limits to independent researchers. Though the Antarctic Treaty promotes scientific collaboration, reports persist of denied permits, sudden closures and covert activity. Whistleblowers from former military and private research operations have hinted at undisclosed structures, sudden evacuations and silent observers monitoring expeditions. These accounts, while often anecdotal, share enough overlapping detail to stir suspicion. Further complicating matters is the discovery of fossilized plant material, pollen, and microbial life that points to a much warmer, temperate climate within the last several 100,000 years, far more recently than once thought. In 2012, a team drilling into Lake Whillans retrieved microorganisms from water that had been isolated beneath the ice for millennia. Some of these life forms exhibited adaptations not seen in any known terrestrial species. While this does not prove the existence of a lost civilization, it does challenge long-held assumptions about what is possible beneath the ice and what may have once thrived there. Then there's the enigmatic case of Event 86, a seismic anomaly recorded in 2004 by international monitoring stations. The signal, originating from deep beneath the ice in Queen Maud Land, bore a signature unlike typical tectonic activity. It was sharp, localized and brief, more akin to a controlled detonation than a natural quake. No mining activity or research operation was officially underway at the time. Attempts to acquire more information from agencies monitoring the region have been met with silence or redirection. Independent analysts believe the signal may indicate the collapse or destruction of a large underground cavity, but without further data, it remains speculative. In the academic world, it is rare to admit uncertainty, yet the case of Antarctica is marked by gaps, blank spots on maps, unexplored subglacial regions, and conflicting data. The question is not whether ancient ruins have been conclusively found, but whether we have truly looked. With so much territory left unmapped and unexplored, the absence of evidence may simply be the result of limited access and technological constraint. Until ice-penetrating methods advance, or ground exploration becomes feasible on a large scale, many of these questions will remain unanswered, not for lack of curiosity, but for lack of opportunity. And perhaps that is what keeps the mystery alive. The absence of certainty, the presence of just enough anomaly to resist closure. Antarctica remains a frozen vault sealed by time, untouched by human memory, and within that vault may lie chapters of our past too dangerous or too inconvenient for history to remember. Beyond the domain of traditional science, more speculative theories have taken root, ideas that push the boundaries of what is considered possible, even plausible. Among these is the notion that Antarctica was once the heart of a technologically advanced civilization. one that may have possessed knowledge and abilities far exceeding those of any ancient culture currently acknowledged by mainstream history. Proponents of this theory argue that the evidence scattered around the world, sudden appearances of complex architecture, astronomical alignments, and inexplicable megaliths suggests the influence of a global seeding civilization. If such a civilization did exist, Antarctica, with its geographic isolation and sudden disappearance, may have been its epicenter. Some fringe researchers connect this hypothesis to the lost continent of Atlantis. Plato described Atlantis as a highly advanced maritime culture that vanished in a cataclysm, leaving behind only scattered memories encoded in myth. While most interpretations place Atlantis in the Atlantic Ocean, others argue that Plato's account may have been allegorical, or that ancient names and locations were mistranslated over millennia. Antarctica, submerged in legend and ice, fits the archetype, a place of enormous size, sudden destruction, and mysterious disappearance. Its inaccessibility makes it a perfect candidate for the preservation of ancient ruins, if such ruins exist. Adding to this is the theory that the Earth has undergone multiple global resets. Catastrophic events such as asteroid impacts, pole shifts, or solar storms that wiped out previous high civilizations. Advocates believe that traces of these ancient cultures lie in the world's oldest myths and esoteric traditions. They point to ancient texts such as the Sumerian King List, which records reigns lasting tens of thousands of years, or the Vedic accounts of flying machines and cosmic wars. In this context, Antarctica is seen not as an anomaly, but as a relic of a forgotten epoch, perhaps even a repository for technologies or archives intentionally concealed from a recovering post-cataclysm world. The idea of concealed knowledge is central to many of these beliefs. According to some theorists, secret societies and elite organizations have long known about the hidden history of Antarctica. They cite the intense military and governmental interest in the continent, especially following World War II, as evidence. Operation High Jump, a massive US Navy mission launched in 1946, is often cited in this regard. Officially a scientific expedition, the operation included over 4,000 personnel, aircraft carriers, destroyers, and submarines, an unusual level of firepower for a research mission. Some claim the operation encountered hostile forces, possibly remnants of a hidden Nazi base or something even more extraordinary beneath the ice, though these claims remain unverified and highly controversial. Still others suggest that Antarctica may not merely hold the remains of a lost civilization, but could also conceal technologies not of this Earth. The theory of ancient aliens posits that extraterrestrial beings may have established outposts in remote parts of the planet in prehistoric times. If Antarctica served as one such base, it would explain the persistent anomalies, gravitational disturbances, magnetic irregularities, and unexplained radio signals. Proponents point to ancient legends that speak of gods descending from the skies, bringing knowledge and power, then vanishing into the earth or sea. Some speculate these gods may have returned to the safety of the frozen continent or never left. More extreme versions of this theory suggest that such beings may still exist in hidden chambers beneath the ice, either dormant or actively observing. These ideas draw from diverse sources: Tibetan folklore, esoteric teachings, UFO sightings near the poles, and alleged testimonies from insiders who claim to have seen strange artifacts or non-human structures during classified missions. Though largely dismissed by academia, these narratives persist in popular culture and alternative research communities, fueled by secrecy, suggestive evidence, and the overwhelming allure of the unknown. For many, the mystery of Antarctica taps into something deeper, a longing to understand the vast, unrecorded past of human history, and a suspicion that the truth is more complex than we've been taught. Whether these theories are grounded in reality or fueled by imagination, they reflect a collective curiosity that refuses to die. In the absence of concrete answers, speculation becomes the vessel for possibility. And in that space between the known and the unknowable, Antarctica remains a silent witness, cloaked in ice, waiting to speak. The cultural and symbolic weight of Antarctica's mystery extends far beyond the realm of lost ruins or speculative technology. For thousands of years, cultures around the world have spoken of forgotten lands, vanished civilizations, and sacred domains hidden at the edges of the known world. Whether described as Eden, Shambhala, Hyperborea, or Atlantis, these mythical places have served as mirrors of our highest aspirations and darkest fears, symbols of human potential, cosmic order, and catastrophic downfall. In many ways, Antarctica has inherited this role in the modern imagination, a blank canvas at the bottom of the world, upon which we project our collective hopes, anxieties, and forgotten dreams. To the esoteric traditions of antiquity, hidden lands represented more than just physical locations. They were metaphors for higher knowledge, spiritual advancement, and the evolution of consciousness. In Hermetic and Gnostic texts, the world is often described as layered, with the material plane obscuring deeper truths. The idea of a lost civilization beneath Antarctica becomes, in this context, a symbolic expression of what lies buried within the human psyche, forgotten wisdom, ancient memory, and the potential for rediscovery. It is not just about geography, it is about initiation, uncovering the layers of ice within ourselves to access a more complete understanding of who we are. Antarctica's literal inaccessibility only amplifies its symbolic power. Unlike other ancient sites, Giza, Angkor Wat, Machu Picchu, it cannot be easily visited, touched, or excavated. Its secrets are physically sealed beneath immense ice sheets, guarded by some of the most extreme conditions on Earth. This inaccessibility transforms the continent into a kind of sacred crypt, akin to the hidden chambers in ancient temples, which could only be entered by the initiated. It suggests that any truth lying beneath the ice is not meant for the unprepared, that only through effort, intention, and transformation might it be revealed. In the mythologies of many indigenous cultures, the polar regions are sacred gateways, portals to the spirit world or domains of the gods. Inuit traditions speak of beings who live beneath the ice and snow, beyond the reach of ordinary humans. In Vedic cosmology, Mount Meru, the axis mundi of the universe, is surrounded by sacred lands, one of which some scholars have connected symbolically to the South Pole. These symbolic landscapes serve as reminders that the physical world is interwoven with layers of meaning, and that the search for lost civilizations may also be a search for our own forgotten origins. The ice, in alchemical terms, represents both stasis and preservation. It is the substance that halts decay, suspends time, and conceals the essence of a thing until the proper moment of awakening. If Antarctica holds remnants of an ancient culture, whether physical structures or encoded myths, then it also holds the key to a process of collective remembrance. The act of uncovering such a civilization would not merely be an archaeological event. It would be a psychological and cultural turning point, forcing humanity to re-evaluate its story, its timeline, and its place in the cosmos. There is also a moral dimension to the mystery. If a civilization did thrive on Antarctica and was lost to climate change, cosmic catastrophe, or its own hubris, then its story could serve as a warning. Many myths speak of golden ages undone by arrogance, knowledge misused, or harmony with nature broken. Whether literal or allegorical, these narratives suggest that civilizations, no matter how advanced, are vulnerable when they forget their limits. In this light, the silence of Antarctica becomes a solemn echo, a frozen lesson about the impermanence of greatness. At the same time, the mystery stirs something hopeful. The idea that something magnificent could lie hidden beneath the ice offers a vision of redemption. It suggests that not all is lost, that the past holds gifts yet to be uncovered, and that humanity's origins might be grander and more complex than we currently believe. Whether Antarctica hides megaliths or merely mysteries, its presence on the edge of human knowledge invites us to remain curious, open, and willing to look deeper, not only into the Earth, but into ourselves. Across the breadth of the mystery, certain facts and patterns begin to crystallize, threads that, while not definitive, form a tapestry of intrigue too persistent to ignore. The geological record tells us that Antarctica was not always a frozen wasteland. Long ago, its landmass supported lush vegetation, freshwater lakes, and perhaps even an environment that could sustain large fauna. This much is accepted by modern science. The debate begins when we ask whether that environment overlapped with human existence, or even pre-human civilizations advanced enough to leave a trace. The Peary Race map, while controversial, continues to defy simple dismissal. Its depiction of a southern landmass with a relatively accurate coastline, only visible today through high-tech ice-penetrating methods, challenges assumptions about the limits of early cartographic knowledge. While scholars propose alternative explanations, none fully account for how such precise geographical details made their way into a map from 1513, drawn from sources said to be hundreds, if not thousands, of years older. Lake Vostok remains an enigma unto itself. One of the largest subglacial lakes on Earth, sealed off from the atmosphere for millions of years, its ecosystem, if any exists, could provide insights into extremophile life forms or ancient microbial communities untouched by surface events. Though officially studied for purely scientific purposes, secrecy has long shrouded its exploration. Conflicting reports, disrupted drilling missions, and classified findings suggest the possibility that something unexpected may have been encountered beneath the ice, whether ancient biology, strange material structures, or otherwise. Then there are the unexplained seismic events, brief, localized bursts of energy that fail to fit typical geological patterns. The so-called Event 86 remains unaccounted for, while other signals recorded by seismographs and magnetometers suggest activities far beneath the ice sheet that cannot be easily explained by tectonics or glacial movement alone. These phenomena, occurring in zones otherwise devoid of human activity, continue to feed speculation. Equally intriguing are the structural anomalies revealed by satellite and radar imaging. Long, linear formations, massive symmetrical patterns, and unnatural-looking ridges aligned to cardinal directions. These are the kinds of features typically associated with human or intelligent design: roads, walls, foundations. While geologists lean toward natural explanations, the sheer regularity and scale of some patterns resist easy categorization. The consistent element threading through so many of these anomalies is secrecy. Antarctica is governed by an international treaty that, on the surface, promotes open scientific collaboration. But beneath this cooperative framework, select regions remain difficult to access. Independent researchers, journalists, and private expeditions often face bureaucratic obstacles or unexplained denials. Stories of restricted airspace, missing data, and redacted reports circulate not just in fringe circles, but among seasoned researchers with no agenda beyond inquiry. Even historical events, such as Operation High Jump, stand out as peculiar. The sheer scale of that mission, conducted just after World War II and lasting less than expected, has led to decades of speculation. Whether it was a reconnaissance mission, a hunt for Nazi remnants, or something else entirely, remains unclear. But its inclusion in the lore of Antarctic secrecy adds fuel to a fire that refuses to burn out. And so the key points align into a familiar shape. A place on Earth that was once temperate, now frozen, a continent mostly unmapped and unexplored, a body of legends, scientific anomalies, and institutional silence surrounding it. Each fact alone may not raise alarm, but taken together, they form a pattern that is difficult to ignore. A pattern suggesting that, at the very least, we have not been told the full story. Whether that story includes an ancient civilization, a forgotten epoch of human history, or something even more extraordinary, the clues demand our attention. The mystery of Antarctica remains unsolved, but not for lack of questions. It persists because the answers, if they exist, are buried deep, under centuries of ice, silence, and perhaps intention. Perhaps that is the most haunting truth of all, that the mystery endures not because it is fanciful, but because it remains unresolved in spite of everything we've learned. Antarctica sits like a sentinel at the edge of the known world, blanketed in silence, shielding whatever lies beneath from the light of discovery. In a time when satellites orbit the Earth and rovers explore distant planets, it is remarkable that a continent on our own planet can still withhold so many secrets. We peer through layers of ice and data, through maps and myths, searching for something, proof, understanding, revelation, but the ice never gives easily. For all our technological power, we have only scratched the surface. The radar pulses, the seismic scans, the blurred satellite images, they offer glimpses, hints, anomalies. They raise questions louder than answers. Could a civilization have once thrived here, before the ice entombed it? Could there be ruins, archives, even technologies older than any we've recorded, slumbering in the depths beneath our feet? The evidence is fragmentary, circumstantial, and fiercely contested, but it is persistent. And persistence in mysteries such as this often signals something real waiting to be uncovered. If nothing else, the enigma of Antarctica reminds us of the limits of our own understanding. It challenges the belief that we know the shape of our past, that we have mapped every chapter of the human story. It reopens the possibility that history is more layered, more cyclical, more prone to forgetting than we'd like to believe, that civilizations rise and fall in ways we do not yet comprehend, and that some of them may have vanished not into legend, but into ice. Perhaps what Antarctica offers us is not just an archaeological riddle, but a philosophical mirror. A chance to reflect on what we know, what we assume, and what we fear. The fear that we are not the first. The fear that we've forgotten something essential. The fear that the ground beneath our feet, the world we've built, is more fragile and more temporary than we realize. In myth, the greatest truths are often hidden in the most remote and unlikely places. The mountaintop, the cave, the ocean floor, and the pole. Antarctica fits that mold perfectly. A final frontier, not in space, but here at the end of the earth. Whatever sleeps beneath that ice may never be fully revealed in our lifetimes. Or perhaps one day soon, a discovery will come, a core sample, a collapsed chamber, a signal, that shatters the paradigm and forces us to rewrite the story of human civilization from the ground up. Until then, the white silence holds its breath, keeping the past locked in frozen stasis. And we are left standing at the edge, listening for what the ice won't say. Watching. Wondering. Thanks for listening. This has been Ancient Mysteries. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And if you'd like to support the show, subscribe to the Forbidden Knowledge Network on Patreon. Subscribe now.